And bro, you just continue to grow, and I'm so proud of you. You elevate me, you inspire me, you encourage me, you uplift me. And I'm telling you, this place has changed my life, and this man will also change your life just to listen to what he's got. So without anything more, I'm going to bring up my buddy, Mr. Blake Goad.
Let's give Josh a round of applause, everybody. Woo! I'm excited. It is G5 Leadership June. I can't believe it's June already. What freaks me out is one more month and I'm 25 years old. That just freaks me out so much. I'm so old. I'm starting to get gray hair. I'm catching up to Junior. It's awesome. Except Junior's got it everywhere. And so here's the good thing, the difference between Junior and I is Junior's balding since he was born, where I was gaining hair since I was born. That's the difference. No, we're cool. I love Junior. We give each other a hard time. So y'all excited for G5 Leadership? We're so excited. We got. I know it's a holiday weekend this weekend, right? But how many of you know I'm so excited you came to G5 Leadership even though it was a holiday? And we have people all over the world tuning in on Zoom and Ustream and all the platforms we are using. You would never know I spoke English, right? It's kind of fun. But I'm super excited today. So last month I started my talk, and I'm going to finish it this month. I pulled a Tim Goad and I separated my talk. Tim Goad is famous for separating. Said, I'm going to give you 2 today, but I ended up going to give you 10, but I'm going to give you 4 actually. So it's, he kind of jumps around. It's kind of fun, but I'm excited. So I'm going to jump right back in. Can I do that? Because I want to bring my dad up here. So last month I started to break the word strong down. Strong. And how many of you know that the word strong, whenever you think of the word strong, what do you all think of? I think of bodybuilders, you're strong, you're working out, you got strong in whatever you do, right? Exactly. But I wanted to give some point to what I thought, to me, in leadership, what the word strong meant. And last month I gave 3 points. And this week I'm going to give the other 3 points, but I'm going to give you the other 3 points from last month in case you all weren't here. Can I do that? Okay. So I'm going to go through the first 3 real quick. Let's do this. So last month I covered it. The S in strong stands for supportive. Supportive. And I was talking about last month about how many of you love and appreciate that when you have friends and family that are supportive of what you do? Supportive of what you do. Even if here's what I love is, how many of you know, even if they don't agree with it, they still support you because they know that's what you're called to do. Supportive. I'm so thankful that I have friends and family in my life that came up to me and they are supportive of everything I do in my life, even if they sometimes don't understand it. For y'all who don't know, I buy and sell and trade comic books and collectible vintage toys and stuff. And my mom looks at me and thinks I'm crazy. She's like, I don't understand any of that. It doesn't make any sense. But here's what I love is she's supportive. My mom and dad are supportive. I love going to Comic-Cons. I think it's so much fun. A lot of my friends go to these conventions, and my dad talked about it last month, and he goes to these conventions with me, and he looks and walks around, and he told me he'd rather watch paint dry than go to these conventions. But how many of you know, because I love it and I'm passionate about it, he becomes passionate about it. He's supportive, even though he looks like a deer in headlights when he walks around those places. But how many of you know when you find what your family is passionate about, you instantly want to support them in it? Right? I love it, supportive. The T in strong stands for trusting. Trusting. How many of you, have you ever had people in your life that broke trust with you? They stabbed you in the back? I know that's a weird term to say, but they treated you wrong, right? But how many of you would be willing to have somebody that is trusting in your life to help you go the extra mile? Trusting. That's what I'm so thankful. How many of you, when you come to G5, when you come on this property, you can trust everybody at G5. You don't have to worry about somebody coming up behind you and doing something they shouldn't be doing, or you can trust them. We're family. And I believe one of the biggest things in having a supportive friends and family and trusting is you have to be willing to trust each other enough to go, hey, can I ask you something? How many of you know just asking questions instantly will help you trust people even more. Ask questions. Ask questions. I'm going fast. Sorry, I'm getting through this. So the R in strong stands for renew. Renew. How many of you know that you can work? How many of you love to work? We love to work. G5, we believe one of the 5, we added a 6th love language. It's called work at G5. But here's what I found out is when you work, how many of you know, a lot of you feel like you're just tired and you get burnt out, right? Have you ever had that feeling of like you just, after a while, you're like, I can't do this anymore? And what we found out at G5 is one of the greatest ways to continue to be valuable at what you do is to renew yourself. Renew. And you're saying, Blake, well, what do you mean by renew? What is ways to renew yourself? Well, how many of you know everybody does stuff differently? They're into different things. Like I was talking about, I love going to conventions. When I go to those conventions renew me. Because how many of you know you can go and you can be with your friends and they're supportive and they're trusting. And you can go and you can just be who you are. But here's what I also found. When you're working, you have people that come into your life that you can trust and they're trustworthy and they're supportive. And when you work, they renew you while you work. They renew you while you work. Because how many of you know my dad always taught me this, the 5 closest people you hang around when you're younger or even till you're older is going to determine what your life looks like in the future. Renewing. Like we have this little golf cart in our town and it's called a NEV, Neighborhood Electric Vehicle. It's fancy. It's like French or something. Oui. I don't know. But it's like, we go on this golf cart, and for my family, we go put on some jazz music. We just put some kind of music on, and we just take a ride around our community in this golf cart. But it just renews us. It fills us back up. And how many of you know, whatever it is that you like to do, whatever it is that you find that renews you, I encourage you to do it because if you will not renew yourself, and a lot of people love to read. I've had a challenge of reading since I was little. I'm dyslexia. I have dyslexia. For a lot of those that don't know what that means, I read backwards sometimes. Like I'm reading a word and I'll skip lines and it's really fun. It's exciting if you love to read. Whew. But how many of you know when people I love to read books. People say that to me all the time. I'm like, well, I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. But it's hard for me to read books. But here's what I found. My dad always taught me that the challenge is you have to be willing to go the extra mile to do what you don't like sometimes. To get yourself renewed. You got to fill yourself back up. You got to listen to audios. You got to read books. Watch YouTube videos, preachers, teachers, whatever it is. Look, I even have a better one. This thing called a G5 app. I think if you ever heard of that, you're in the wrong spot, y'all. But just saying, get yourself renewed. Renewed. So I'm excited. Now I'm moving on to this month's points. Can we do it? I'm so excited. I'm just excited to be a G5 leadership this month. I don't know what you're talking about. So it's exciting. But first, I want to say something real quick. I know this past week was, what holiday is it? Thank you. That's what I thought. But I just wanted to say, I want to thank you to all our amazing troops that have served in their military, that have protected us. Because how many of you know, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to have this today. And both of my grandfathers were in the military, and I loved listening to my grandfather talk about the military. And my grandfather got to the point one time where he would just repeat the same 6 stories over and over and over again. But I loved it because here's what Mom and Dad always taught me, is whenever you hear the same story over and over again, listen for something you didn't hear the first time. Even though I heard the same story my grandfather told me about going to this whole, being in the military and they were hoping, I heard the same story 20,000 times, but I listened for something I didn't hear the last time. And it was so cool because there was a leadership lesson he taught me every single time he told me the stories. So cool. So I'm going to move on. Can we do this? Let's do this. So this month, I'm going to give you 3 this month. Let's do this. So the O in strong stands for opportunities. Opportunities. And y'all are thinking, well, Blake, what does opportunities have to do with leadership? And opportunities have to do with everything with leadership. Because how many of you know opportunities give you the ability to support, to trust, and to help renew other people to keep going in what their mission is? Opportunities. Here at G5, one of our love languages is food. Food. We love to eat. Yes, we do. But whenever we go to restaurants, we're out at restaurants and we talk with people. And here's what I love about our, we G5ers, whenever we go to a restaurant, it gives us an opportunity to ask the waiter or waitress a question about them. But here's what I find is so crazy is I love watching people that don't know how to ask questions when they go to restaurants, because they'll go and just order their food and just eat and then leave. But here's what they don't understand is no matter what you do in life, you're in ministry. So when you go to a restaurant and you don't ask the waiters questions, you missed an opportunity to change that person's life for that day. So you could even just go and simply smile and go, hey, how long have you been working here? What's your favorite item on the menu? You know, what do you like about working here? Or what do you don't like about working here? Yeah, eventually they're going to say something. But here's what I found. If you have an opportunity, don't be afraid to ask questions. And in leadership, I believe one of the greatest things to be a great leader is to ask questions. My mom talked about it at Elevate. I ask questions like nobody's business. And you're thinking, no, not you, Blake. Yes, me. But here's what I found out, that all great leaders do one thing, and they ask questions. Because if you don't ask questions, then you're not willing to go the extra mile. Because here's what I found out. When you ask questions, you know where you're going once you ask the question. Or you can help clarify what's happening. Opportunities. I love opportunities. Right? Like here at G5, we have one of the greatest opportunities to change people's lives going into the future. Going into the future. I'm excited. It's so cool. So the end, I'm going fast today because I'm excited. I'm bringing my dad up here. My dad's going to kill it today. I'm excited. Everything I learned from him. So if you don't like anything I said, don't blame me or him. It's not us. It's awesome. So the N in strong stands for notice. And notice, I want to go back to opportunity with the notice, because how many of you know opportunities give you the chance to notice things? Opportunities give you the chance to notice people. Notice. I am amazed at how many people are humbled and they're excited when they get noticed. And you're thinking, Blake, how do I notice people? Like I said earlier, it's simply just saying hi. Saying hi. I am amazed at how many people, like I work out in our neighborhood, and we'll be walking down the street, and I'll say hi to somebody, and they just keep walking past me without saying nothing. And I'm like, hi to you too. Have a great day. Love you, bro. See ya. Like, they're like, who are you? But they're not used to having people be nice to them. Be nice. And you're thinking, well, we are nice. Well, here's the greatest thing I found about being nice is it only works, a lot of times it works one way. And you're thinking, what do you mean it works one way? When you're nice to somebody, eventually it'll come back the other way. Be nice. Be noticeable. Like here at G5, I don't know if we love kids here at G5. We love kids. How many of you know when we go greet somebody new at G5, we immediately go up and start talking to the kids and the parents. But here's what we found out. When you notice the kids, the parents will automatically come back. And you're thinking, Blake, what does that mean? Because when the parents feel like their kids are loved, they'll go where their kids will be valued and loved. Noticed. I remember when I was little, I loved when people would come up to me and go, dude, how are you doing? It's so great. And how many of you know when you get down to their level, they feel a part. And that's another thing. When you notice somebody, they feel a part of what you're doing. They feel a part. When you go to a restaurant, I have a bunch of food allergies. It's really exciting. But when I go, I always try to ask them, what's your favorite thing on the menu? Even though I can't eat it, I still ask. And then they say, well, and what's so cool is a lot of times I'll tell them my food allergies, and they'll have the same food allergies I have. So they can help. But how many of you know you have to connect with people of where they're at? You have to notice them. The last one, and I love this. It's going to be fun. This last one is like, it's really cool. The G in strong stands for being grateful. Grateful. And you're thinking, Blake, in leadership, what does grateful have to do with being a leader? And if you hear anything else I say today, grateful has to do with everything with leadership. Everything. Because here's what I found. If you're not grateful from where you came from, you will not appreciate where you're going. Leadership. I said this at Elevate, and for y'all that weren't at Elevate, I encourage you to get to Elevate next year. But I told people at Elevate, I want y'all not to focus on your past, but I want you to keep your past close, because if it wasn't for your past, you wouldn't be where you are today. Be grateful for where you came from. Don't forget where you came from, but don't focus on it. Because as soon as you focus on it, it'll weigh you down. Because here's what I found in leadership is when you focus on your past, it deters you from where you're going in your future. Now, your past will help you go to your future, but your past will also keep you from your future. Now, what I just said there right there was massive, y'all. Your past will keep you from your future, but it'll help you get you to your future at the same time. That's huge. Huge. And I love what Mother Teresa said. She simply said that everybody comes into your life as a blessing and everybody comes into your life as a lesson. And I want to say that about our past too. Be grateful for where you are, because where you are right now is a lesson and it's a blessing. And where you came from is a lesson and a blessing. And where you're going is a lesson and a blessing. And I want to end with this quote. I'm going to bring my dad up, but I'm going real fast today. I love giving a lot of information in a short amount of time. Oh, it's exciting. I learned that from the best. His name's Tim Goad. It's exciting. But I love what Arnold Palmer said, and it simply says this, and I believe this sums this up, so I'm not going to give you the points one more time, but the most rewarding things you do in life are often the ones that look like they could not be done. So right now, I just want to encourage y'all. A lot of y'all are probably going through stuff. You're thinking, I don't feel like I'm ever going to get to the other side of this. I don't feel like I'm ever going to get through this brick wall I keep running into. But how many of you know when you get to the other side of that wall, you're going to go, wow, that was easier than I thought. But it's because a lot of us get in our own ways. And my dad wrote a book, and it's in the store over there. It says, How to Stop Self-Defeating Behaviors and Getting Out of Your Own Way. Get out of your way, right? So, supportive, trusting, renewing, opportunity, notice, and grateful. And here's what I want to encourage y'all. If y'all have any questions, you can come ask me later, because I don't want to take time away from my dad. But if you all will just apply these points to your life every single day, you will be amazed at how different your life is. And you're thinking, Blake, well, that's easier said than done. And I'm going to say, I agree. Because I struggle with it every single day. And here's what I want to encourage y'all. It's never going to be perfect. But here's what I know. With the right people supporting and trusting and renewing and helping you with the opportunities you all have, you can do anything. Right? And when you put your mind to something, you can do anything. You can accomplish anything. Right? Amen. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my amazing father up. Please help me welcome my amazing dad, Tim Goad.
Well, how does it feel to be replaced, right? You're experiencing it right in front of your eyes. And by the way, that was the goal. That was the goal. The goal is to replace yourself. If you're the only person that can do what you can do, you're going to have a very empty life. I'm serious. Replace yourself. How many of you know you can't get to where you want to go if you keep being who you are? Yeah, you can't get to where you need to go if you keep being who you are. The definition of insanity is to keep doing what you keep doing and what you've been doing and expecting different results. So these are incredible. Can you keep those up? And then I'm going to add 4 skills that I'm going to take a day. I actually want to bring about 200 youth in here and train them in this. Young leaders, young emerging leaders. Like some people at 10 years old are leaders. When I was in the 4th grade, my teacher brought me in and said, I'm going to put you ahead of the class. I've got to leave, and I want you to take the class. And it was that day that it was the first time in my life anybody ever said to me, you're a leader. Has anybody ever said to you yet, you're a leader? Have they ever asked you to take responsibility for something? Maybe they didn't say you're a leader, but they gave you responsibility for something. You're a leader. And so I don't think we get to pick and choose. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to be a leader. I don't think you get to choose that. I think it's already chosen. I think it's already chosen. I think how you lead, how well you lead, with what knowledge and information you lead with is everything. So here's what I want to tell you. There are 4 skills that you've got to learn. And we'll talk a lot more about this later. I just want you to start thinking about them. If you're running a company, if you've got a dream, if you have a service company, if you want your company to grow, if you want to grow from $150,000 a year to $10 million a year, you have to have these skills. If you're doing $100 million a year and you want to grow to $1 billion, you've got to have these skills. You got to get better and better and better at these skills. I'm working on these skills in my life every day like you cannot imagine. The first one is I've got to get better at relationship skills. I've got to get better at relationship skills. All of these 6 things that he put up here have to do with relationships. It has to do with what your presence does when you walk into a room. How do you make people feel? What do you make them think? How do they look at you? I used to have a bunch of young guys that I was raising up, and most of them didn't have any money, and the next thing you know, they started wearing $1,000 suits and having Rolex watches, and when they would walk in the room, the only thing you could see was their clothes and their jewelry. And I sat them down one day and I said, guys, that stuff's got to go away. Because if all people see is the outward adornment, and they don't see the depth of character, the depth of conviction, the depth of heart, you could send your clothes and you can stay at home. Is that too tough? It might be, okay? So relationship skills. How good am I with people? How good of a listener am I? Do I take the opportunity to really notice people? When you notice somebody, do you know what happens? You actually increase their self-esteem and their value. If you don't notice somebody, have you ever gone someplace where they didn't notice you and boom? Can I tell you? I stay at Holiday Inn every now and then. There's nobody out there going, hey, Tim, it's good to have you back. Right? And we live in Florida, so every now and then we can get like really killer stiller deals at the Ritz-Carlton. And when I get there, they go, Mr. Goat, it's good to have you back. And Mrs. Goat, it's good to see you. And Blake and Bree, it's good to see you. They notice you. It's amazing how much more you will pay when people notice you than when they don't. Are you hearing me? So you got to be a noticer. You can't afford to show up anywhere and not be a noticer of people. Now, can I tell you what most people do in their whole life? They want people to notice them, but they don't notice anybody else. The quickest way to get noticed is notice others. Are you okay with that? So when you show up, don't go, what have you done for me lately, Janet Jackson? What have you done for me? No. Show up and go, hey, I'm here to meet needs. I'm here to meet needs. Can I tell you, if you will notice people, if you will value people, if you will add value to people by adding value to yourself, if you will add value to people by valuing what they value, how many of you know that'll make a big difference? By the way, that's a whole lesson right there, right? If somebody comes over to my house and wants to do something for me, I want them to look around and go, hey, this guy values excellence. When you show up at G5 Ranch, we so much believe in excellence that we put it on the front gate. Passionate about life with a spirit of excellence. So guess what? If you're coming and you begin to come all the time, I expect you to have the spirit of excellence on you. I'm not talking about perfectionism. I'm not talking about ego out the top of the roof. I'm just talking about we're going to be excellent with people. All right. The second is empowerment skills. Empowerment skills. Some of you were raised by fathers that unless you did it the way they wanted you to do it, they would go, get out of the way, I'm going to take care of it myself. Some of you have been led by leaders that did that. How many of you know people are not probably going to do it at the level that you do it, but you can give them the opportunity to learn where to start and then how to just make it a little bit better. Excellence. When you get done at the end of the day and you lay your head on the pillow, did you give like 10%? Did you give like 20%? Or did you give 100%? Now, people say, well, I give 110%, and I don't know if that's possible. But can I tell you, I'd like to err that way. I would like to feel like I'm doing everything I can and then add a little bit more to it. Just a little bit more. It's amazing how a little bit more changes everything in your life. This is leadership. So then I can begin to empower and equip other people. You equip people with information, but if you really want to empower and equip them, give them an example. An example. An example of kindness, an example of hard work, an example of love, an example of kindness and gentleness when you get around them. I'm always amazed at really powerful people when they walk in a room and a spirit of humility is on them. And I'm amazing how little tiny people that really haven't done that much, how much they can walk into a space and act so arrogant. If you got a promotion in order to get arrogant, you got it for the wrong reasons. Matter of fact, we will talk about the temptations of leadership. And there are really 3 of them that will come and eat you out. I didn't come to talk about it today, but you better be aware of them. Because they're after you. They're after you in your home. They're after you on your job. They're after you in your company. They're after you in your worship time. All these enemies are showing up, and a lot of men think they're great, and a lot of women think they're great because they think they're powerful. But if you really want to be powerful, show me how you deal with somebody that cannot do anything for you. That's the measure of power. The 4th skill is an attitude skill. Boy, I fight with that one. I don't know about you. It's real easy if I'm not careful to let life control my attitude. If I'm not careful, I can let people around me control my attitude. I can allow people what they say to me or don't say to me, how they treat me or don't treat me, whether they notice me or don't notice me, whether they compliment me or don't compliment me, whether they encourage me or don't encourage me. If I'm not careful, I can let that impact my attitude. You know I'm telling the truth out there. Matter of fact, some of you today, your performance has dropped because your attitude is not at its highest level. I used to think attitude was just something you either had or you didn't have. It was like either you got a good one or you got a bad one. And I don't know about you, I've got some people in my life that they've got like attitude, like through the roof, and they shouldn't have a good attitude. Do you know what I'm talking about? They actually should be bitter and angry and mad and resentful and short-sighted and short-worded. You ever get somebody that give you one-word answers? How you doing? Fine. Is anything wrong? Nothing's wrong. And you look into their lives and it's like they've got a silver spoon in their mouth. I have other people, man, that the world's coming in on them. They're sick. Their bodies are aching. Their circumstances are not good. Nobody's doing what they say. Is there anything that can impact your day like somebody not doing what they say they'll do? Huh? Showing up when they say they don't show up when they said they'll show up. And they'll just, has anybody been in the space where you just walked around and went, doggone it, I'm doing everything. You ever have one of those days? Well, look at you. You're eating grapes while I'm sucking on sand. Do you know what I'm talking about? And if you're not careful, the greatest gift in your life, which is the gift of attitude, will be stolen from you. And you'll start being depressed, discouraged, despondent, angry, mean, resentful, and you won't even know it. Well, I did that for them. Anybody besides me ever had unmet expectations around you? Well, I did this, and I thought if I did this, you'd do that. Right? Well, I gave this, so I thought in return you'd do this. I feel sorry for moms. Can I just encourage you? Man, you cook meals, you give your life away, you do all these things, and sometimes you don't go thanked, no gratitude, and people don't notice. Crushes me. Be thankful. Look, I had a great dad. I lost my father in a house fire when I was 21. But my daddy taught me a lot to do, and he taught me a lot not what to do. My mother would make that same chicken dish, and she would pour her soul into it. And sometimes my father would get up from the table and just go and sit down. And I remember as a young boy going, I'll never do that. And by the grace of God, I've really tried to make big deals out of the little things that my wife does, to notice, to say it. Sometimes, and then I'll give you the last one, and I'll talk to you when I want to talk to you about it. Is that all right? Some days, people's response to your thank yous and your encouragement is not to the level that you think it should be. Can we just get real? Man, I took time to say thank you. I took time. And sometimes it's not like really acted like it's really that big of a deal. This is where attitude comes in. You see, you can't judge the success of your day by the harvest you reap. You have to judge the success of your day by the seeds that you sow.
Ooh, that's right. Say that again. Say that again.
You can't judge the success of your day by the harvest you reap. You have to judge the success of your day on the seeds that you sow. I want to challenge you today to become a greater seed sower. And don't worry about the harvest. Oh, I promise you, listen, the harvest is coming. It's coming. A good one or a bad one. I'm amazed at how many people want to harvest and they didn't plan anything. Oh, I thought this was going to be my biggest week, but I didn't make any phone calls. I thought this was going to be the one. And then can I tell you, have you ever tried to help somebody and get them in a position where they can win, and then they tell you how, oh, I didn't think I would have to work that hard.
That's crazy.
The world is run by exhausted men and women. It's what you do after you're exhausted that's going to really make the difference on where you are 90 days from now, 120 days from now. So I could talk to you about a balanced life, and I'm a pastor, so I can talk to you about that. But I want to tell you today, there's no such a thing as a balanced life.
That's right.
There is a priority life, and sometimes I have to get out of balance to get in balance. Sometimes my priorities have got to get out of balance in order to get them in balanced. So as a leader, as a warrior, whatever your company is, by the way, I've got a lot of different companies listening to me today. I got roofing companies, I've got restoration companies, I've got lawn care companies, I've got insurance people, I've got MLMs, I've got creative people. All these people are listening. Can I ask you, are you working on these skills? There's nothing worse than somebody having a great product and having bad people skills. You ever go to a place where they got really good food, but their service stinks, and you're like, oh, I don't really think I want to go through that. That's why we right here at G5, when you come, and by the way, I want to encourage you to get here. Some of you live within 2 hours of here, and you don't show up because you're still wondering. We got outside seating. You can wear a mask. You can wear a spacesuit in here. Or you can be bold like some of us. No flying. My wife and I saw a lady flying the other day that had a complete spacesuit out. I was a little jealous, as I was like, I'm being way outdressed right now. But you know what? Come. You're going to be amazed what I've learned most about leadership in the last 30 years. And that is, people don't get their lives changed through information. They get their life changed through culture, through environment. You're going to grow the most when you get in an environment of people, especially growing people, stretching people. Now, some of us, it makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable. But I want to encourage you to get around some strong people. I want to encourage you to get around some people that support you. I want you to get around some people that you can trust. I want you to get around people that renew you just when you get in their presence. I want you to get around people that they answer the opportunity to encourage you. I want you to get around some people that notice you and are grateful for you, and watch what happens to you. What are 3 advantages of leadership? 3 advantages of leadership are this. Number 1, it gives you a position. Now, people will tell you leadership is not a position, and I will tell you leadership is not a position, but it will give you a position. Oh yeah, dig that one out. Do you know why? It gives you a position to be more. When you get in a leadership position, it's not what people are going to do for you, it's what you're going to do for other people. It gives you a chance to grow. To grow. The sooner you can get your children, our 5 and 6-year-old boys, to understand that mom was not made to meet their every need, that actually they were made to meet the needs of their mother. Now they'll go into life and they will win like you cannot imagine. People do not pay for average. If you're going to do an average job, you're not going to be very busy. You have got to be the best at what you do. You better know what you do like nobody else knows it. I'm a big guy on why. I want you to know why. Matter of fact, the people that know how will always work for the people that know why. But I want to tell you, you better know what you do. And you better be getting better at it. Is that all right? My name's Tim. I love you. PT, I'm good. The second thing is it will give you power. Leadership gives you power to do more. Leadership and power was never given to you to be powerful, to look at the world and go, look how powerful I am. I'm a dad. I'm powerful. I'm a man. I'm powerful. I'm the leader. I'm the CEO. No. It gives you the power to do more, to distribute into people's lives what they don't right now possess. It also is a privilege. It's a position of leadership that gives you privilege to have more. So I get to do more, I get to be more, and I get to have more. What do I get more of? Influence. I will never forget, before anybody ever came up to me and said, you have a gift of leadership, I was amazed as a little boy. I would walk in rooms and guys would just get around me and I'd be like, what's wrong with you all? Don't look to me, look to somebody else. I would try to look to somebody else, because I think leaders look for other leaders. They don't want all the fun for themselves. They don't want all the credit for the failure. They want to pass it on. Do you understand what I'm saying? People don't understand that leadership opens a door to a lot of pain, because you not only get credit for the wins, but you have to deal with the losses. And you're going to make mistakes. So let me tell you about my journey, and then I'll do this very quickly. I started watching leaders, and I started watching men, and I started watching women, and I started watching that some of them would really win at life and some wouldn't. I watched that some made really good decisions and others didn't. I started watching them, and I would watch some of them as they would start winning really, really big, and all of a sudden I would watch them start to self-destruct. My son told you about the book, How to Stop Self-Defeating Behaviors. I wrote it because I got tired of seeing people reach just ready to go to the next level, and they would self-destruct. I see what happening in music. I would see it happen in movie stars. I would see it in business leaders. I will tell you, some of you are so young you don't even know this, but there was a company called Enron a few years ago that I liked the company, and I thought the executives were cool, until one day it all came crashing down. There's nothing worse in your life than to have a hero that crashes down. Can I just be personal? I don't think little boys ever get over it when they see their daddies crash. I don't. That's why I started a men's call the third Monday of every month at 9 o'clock. You can go to G5 and you can sign up, because I just don't want people crashing anymore. I don't want me to make tomorrow's decisions on yesterday's information. I'll let that set. So it blew me away, and I couldn't figure out why. And I wrote this book because I discovered that sometimes many people fail and they self-destruct because they don't feel worthy. It's like, I'm doing too good. And the fear of success takes them out. Or they start looking at their lives and they're going, I'm going under. Matter of fact, if you'll allow me, anytime God has ever moved in the earth, man always manages down what God does as to his ability to lead it and manage it. And I want to be that guy that can explode it and grow it and pour gasoline on it and increase it. Now, don't turn me out yet. Just stay with me, because not only did I see some people didn't think they deserved it, but I saw other people that honestly, they actually thought, I deserve it. I deserve it. Both of those will destroy you. That's why this gratitude thing is more important than you will ever know. It's more important than you will ever know. So I started seeing what caused this breakdown. And I've given you 3 or 4 before, and so I'm just going to review real quick, and then I'm going to give you 3 or 4 new ones, okay? But sometimes if you don't have the right people, no, all the time. If you don't have the right people in your life, you won't be able to sustain it. I love this Chinese proverb that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. There's nothing like watching a young emerging leader. And we have them, a lot of them here at G5. A lot of them that plug in. And I love being around them, because these leaders were people that would have been taken out, that they're now soaring where they once would have crashed and burned. I have a friend of mine that started flying drones, and as he was flying the drones, I can't tell you how many times he crashed it. But now he flies it like, woo, watch this. And I'd be like, don't give me that. Because I'm so hyper, I'd have that thing diving right into the ground in seconds flat. Why? Because I haven't learned to manage the power that has been given to me. It's amazing. So if you've got people in your life that are not on the same page, look out. The second one is this victim mentality that says, I feel sorry for myself, and the world's been bad to me, and I can't rise above it. It's the most expensive party you will ever throw in your entire life, victimization. The third is broken focus, and we talked about it. More people fail from broken focus than any other thing on the planet. They just can't stay focused. Focus. What is it right now that you should be focused on? What is the most important thing you should focus on? The fourth is people smarts. And that is, we just don't know people. We don't understand how much relationships matter. Guys come to me all the time and said, Tim, I'm so gifted, I'm talented, I can do this, I'm a great speaker, I'm a great trainer, I'm a great business leader, I'm great at finances. I just can't get along with people. You got to get better and get people smarts. You got to understand that people are unique. We want everybody to believe like us, speak like us, think like us. We need to appreciate where people come from so that I now can understand where they want to go. The fourth one that we see so many times people get into that just takes them out and destroys them is they don't get critical data. They don't do their homework. I have some big dreams here. And I realize that if I don't get the correct information, I will fail. That's why you've got to be careful who you're listening to. If somebody's trying to train you on how to make $100,000, but you need to be trained on how to deal with $1 million, you're headed for failure. Oh, it sounds great, especially if you're only making 40 or if you're making 60. A $40,000 a year raise sounds good. But if you're about to make $1 million, you're going to be in the deep end and not know how to swim. You've got to be able to have critical data in your life. The lack of information or the wrong information will destroy you. Or yesterday's information. You cannot live in a jet age with a horse and buggy mentality. You have got to step out into what's going on right now. And can I just say something to you parents that are listening to me right now? It's easy to train our children on horse and buggy mentality instead of the jet age that they're going into. I think one of the things that we make great mistakes about, do you know what it is? I honestly think that right now we train people way behind where they are. And we've got a bunch of young guys, I love you, writing books that have never played on the injured list. They've never had a flu game yet. Michael Jordan played and scored big with a temperature with the flu. Some of you would go, well, he shouldn't even been playing. Okay. If you want to win, you got to learn that some days in your life, it's not going to be perfect. You've got to learn how to win on your B and C and D game. You got to learn how to do it. So I just want to encourage you. Facts, figures, and numbers, forecast, all these things are critical. Max Dupree, he said the first responsibility of any leader is to define reality. Reality is where we've been, it's where we are, and it's where we want to go. Right there's reality. What is it? You need to define it. So I encourage you in your life to begin to prepare for. Prepare for the future. The future belongs to the prepared. Get people's buy-in. Go talk to them, sit down with them, nurture them through the process. Yeah, don't just lay it down there, bark information. Parents, we do this a lot of times with our children, and then we go to work and do the same thing. We get up and give a training, and when we give a training, we think because the words were written down, people know it. They know the information, they don't know how to implement it yet. And you can implement information, and if you don't have the wisdom and the knowledge how to implement it in such a way that they can take advantage of it and get full return on it, the critical data will go out the roof. The sixth things is, please, I beg you, self-defeating behavior is when people get comfortable with losing. They just get comfortable with it. I know I didn't have a great week, but I'm okay. Yeah, I didn't have a great exchange, but I'm okay. No, man, I beg you, don't get comfortable with losing. I had a friend of mine, he's gone on to be with the Lord. He built the largest networking organization, over 2 million distributors. And I met him and he had about 2,000, and I got to walk with him and we got to do that together. But I will never forget one day I walked into him and I said to him, his name was Dex. I said, Dexter, you've got me to the place where I'm afraid to fail. You know what I thought he'd do? I thought he'd go, oh, son, it's okay. It's all right. Don't worry about it. He looked at me and said, good. I'm like, that wasn't what I thought you were going to say. He said, good. Good. Listen to what he told me. I don't want you ever to get comfortable with losing. I want you to get comfortable with winning. Wow. That one moment in your life where somebody, if you have an open heart, can correct your thinking. In that one moment, he changed me from being a victim to being a victor. From showing up and just playing the game to showing up and expecting me to win the game. That's deeper and bigger than you know. I beg you, don't get comfortable with losing. Get out of your comfort zone. Let me give you this one. Number 7 is I can't take instruction. By the way, this is all in the book that I wrote, Self-Defeating Behaviors. I encourage you to get it, underline it, write in the margins, and teach it to your team. That's what I want you to do. Because when you teach it, you'll know it. When you teach it, you'll know it. You don't really know anything until you start sharing it with other people. 7 is I can't take instruction. I can't take instructions. I just don't want anybody telling me what to do. I want to know everything. Welcome to failure. You can't know everything. I'm so grateful. When you come to G5, I want you to take a look at the people that are around me. I'm grateful, and that team is growing, and it's going to grow more. We're making room for the sharpest, brightest, most intense people to come and be a part of us. We're going to make it better. We're going to take it personal. We're going to stay fit, and we're going to do what other people dream about doing. Do you know why? Because we can take instruction. We can learn from one another. I've been amazed at my life because the greatest leaders I've ever been around in the world don't walk into a room with all the answers. They walk in a room and ask the best questions. Watch them. By the way, leaders, I learn a lot about people. I learn a lot about people by the questions they ask. I know if they're in the fight or they're not in the fight. I was talking to a young, incredible leader this week that I'm grateful that he's becoming a part of my life in a big way. And he was saying, are you comfortable with these questions? I said, I expect you to ask the questions. When you sit down with a leader, do you just tell them everything you know, or do you ask questions? I'm amazed at how many people will come and see me and they just tell me everything. And when we get up, I go, well, that was a beautiful time. But I didn't help. I didn't help. Now, sometimes, can I tell you something, leaders? Listen to me. This is critical right now, and I'm going to give you 2 more. Listen to me. Sometimes you need to listen to people because nobody's listened to them. And then they'll start asking the right questions. Do you hear me? Slow down to speed up. So, when you're around people, just take that moment. And can I tell you, one of the things I had to learn in my life is I had to learn how to ask questions. The 8th thing is people begin to play it safe. They begin to play it safe. Some of you are doing that right now. You're just playing it safe. You're so afraid of losing that you won't go play the game. When I was a boy, at 8th grade, we literally, we could go shower early and leave early from school if we got out in a game of dodgeball. And so I'll never forget, it was like funny because the days that I didn't care if I got out, it seemed like I stayed in forever. And then the day I showed up and started caring, it was like, it was like everybody on the other side looked at me and went, okay, dude, we're going to get you out early. Now, after a while, you learn how to navigate the enemy that's trying to take you out. But here's what I want you to know. When you move from just playing and playing it safe to really playing, are you in your industry right now just playing? Are you impressed with making $500,000 a year when you should be making 1.5? Can I tell you? You may say, well, I don't need more than that. You know what I would say to you? You're a bad steward. Because if you could make 1.5 in the same amount of time that it's taking to make $500,000, but you can't change your mindset and you can't change your identity, I will tell you that's not being a good steward. I think you're very selfish. So I just encourage you to step out. Don't play it safe. The 9th thing, and I close, is just the undisciplined life. Just the undisciplined life. I just can't control my urges. I can't control what's going on around me. I can't control what I say. I can't control where I go. I can't control what I think. The undisciplined life. So I want to encourage you in your life to get disciplined. And we'll talk a lot more about this. You know what an undisciplined life is? Somebody that says, today I got to meet this number. I've got to put this number up. And they stop before the number gets up. That's an undisciplined life. And by the way, don't get mad at me, but that lacks integrity. Because you want to be the person that hits the numbers and does what you know you can do. That sets an incredible example, and it gives other people an opportunity. Let me give you another word for opportunity. Invitation. I invite you. By the way, the only thing you can give people in life is an opportunity and an example. So I encourage you in your life to don't get controlled by your circumstances. So are you growing? Are you reading? Are you listening? Is your mind, are you in a growing environment? Zig Ziglar, who I love so dearly, used to say this all the time, and I close. Tim, if we'll grow people, they'll grow the companies. Tim, if we grow people, they'll grow the church. Tim, if we grow people, they'll grow the outreach. Are you focused right now on growing people? Are you focused on using people? So I want to encourage you to pour into them. Now, that doesn't mean you give them a free lunch. It doesn't mean you make it easy on them. It doesn't mean that you do everything for them. All it means is I give you the example of what it means to struggle. So I have a really dear friend of mine. He's growing faster than anybody you could ever imagine. And he's getting ready to do a talk on why he came back. He had risen to the height of success, and he fell. And he called me today, and he goes, how do I put this talk together? I said, well, I guess you never understood that your dream was going to require more struggle than you knew. But in your struggle, what did you learn? Right now, I'm talking to somebody that's struggling. You're struggling in your week. You're struggling in your month. You're struggling in your marriage. You're struggling in your relationships. You're struggling in your destiny. You're struggling in your purpose. You're struggling in who am I and what should I do? Let your struggle teach you something. Don't get bitter. Don't get angry. Don't get resentful. Don't blame others. Let it teach you. The pain will teach you like nothing else will teach you. And then you're going to leverage that pain to climb to the victory that you were created to have. Hey guys, no defeating behaviors for us. We're stopping it. We're ending it right now. Go, charge.